Welcome back to NASCAR Lap by Lap with me, Garon, Bach. Joining us later will be the podium finishes Declan Wayman. But we had a very non surprising victory in Chicago. NASCAR is once again heading to another road course, and I'm here to help break down all of the action from last week and heading in to the week upcoming. But let's go ahead and look at those Chicago results. So starting off, the big storyline here, Shane Van Gisbergen, the the obvious winner that we all thought was going to happen. It was him. Shane Van Gisbergen earns another win, and I'm sure we've all seen the funny statistics of he now matches Jimmy Johnson. I believe he matched Tony Stewart as one of three drivers to only have 33 career starts and have three wins. So that was a so even though they're all on road courses, that shows you just how talented he is. We saw how dominant he was in Mexico City, and now once again was dominant in Chicago. We'll touch on him later for Sonoma, obviously, as well. He's the favorite heading into that. But I want to continue down the list here. So you have Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick. I highlighted both of those drivers because they're both drivers that have been doing well on road courses this season. And being able to back it up, when you get into a flow, obviously different tracks, but you have Chicago street course and you got a road course in Sonoma. They're both going to do well there, and they're both going to be people that need to be highlighted. They're going to be the drivers that we need to keep an eye on. And for last weekend, it's the same thing for them. And then we have the 5 through 8 spots. And this was just an oddity to me because I will bring up the playoff standings shortly. And whenever I do, you'll see that these guys make up the 16 through 19 spots. And for me, seeing how close they finished, 5, 6, 7, 8 on here, it's a very impressive performance we have this season from the top half of the guys in NASCAR. And then I can go ahead and break them down. Kyle Busch, remember, he spun out. He got spun out, had to go to the rear end of the field, and he came back and made a top 5 finish. If you're still doubting him right now, there's no reason why. We see what he's doing here. We'd like to see it translate over to ovals. Same thing you're saying about Shane Van Gisbergen. But Kyle Busch, he's still there. He still got it. AJ Allmendinger, someone who we're kind of expecting. He's now once again on that bubble spot. Maybe he could pull through once again and get another road course win in the Cup Series. And Ryan Preece, Alex Bowman. And Alex Bowman finished 8th after him and Bubba Wallace got into it. Just hard racing. Seemed like they both were fine with it after the fact. And then moving down the list, nothing really surprising. Joey Logano finished 11th, which is a good day for him. You'd expect that, though. Chase Elliott only finished 16th, and you got to remember all 4 Hendrick cars started in the back of the field. And then down the list, we got Catherine Legg finishing 19th, her first career top 20 in the NASCAR Cup Series, so that is impressive for her as well. Let's go to the other side of the finishing positions here. Nothing really stands out here except for at the bottom. Obviously, that big wreck on lap 2 thanks to Carson Hocevar. I just want to say losing talent, but he was all over the track is what everyone was saying. But Carson Hocevar, other drivers below him, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, Todd Gilliland, Will Brown, who made the trip over here and to be taken on the second lap. That's just unfortunate for him. And William Byron, another Hendrick car. He was the fastest in practice, messed up the toe link after getting into the wall. And now we have a situation in which the regular season point standings, if this was lasting a full 36 races, we are at race 19 right now, halfway through, and the top 5 are within 1 race of each other. And it's another reason why you're going to hear fans say, hey, let's go back to a season-long points format. And you know what? They have a great argument for this one as well. But moving forward with all of that, it's just a very good scene for NASCAR in Chicago. It was the weather held off for once, but now the question becomes, does NASCAR go back to Chicago? And with the talks of going to Philadelphia, with the talks of going out to San Diego for a street race, it seems like NASCAR's taking the ideas of the Indy cars here and thinking, hey, why not we try to keep this centralized to big cities, but in a market that we don't really reach. And Chicago, you have Chicagoland, which it's in a bad condition, but with some TLC, it'll be all right. And we may see NASCAR go back to there. And with the news of Bowman Gray as well, with that being locked down for one race there for the next 5 seasons, don't know if that's going to be a points race or if it's just going to be part of a clash, maybe all-star, no idea. But we are now getting some finalizations for where NASCAR is going to go, and Chicago seems to be out of those plans with all the rumors. So you go to Philadelphia, you could get the idea of what Denny Hamlin said. And it seems like NASCAR really likes Denny Hamlin's ideas because we'll head on the in-season challenge as well. But he said, why not just do a road course, but make it an oval? So that'd be interesting. I don't know how many laps you do it. How long would the road course be? Well, the road course be, but with it being an oval, it'd be kind of like an old Daytona, racing on A1A in the beach. Obviously, you'd only have the asphalt portion of that. But with the win of Shane Van Gisbergen the previous weekend, last weekend, it wasn't surprising. It was one, though, that looked as if it may not have been his for a while. Michael McDowell earned the first stage point in history for Spire Motorsports in the Cup Series, which is shocking to say. And he seemed to have one of the best cars the whole weekend, but got in trouble, messed up there, and then it was all just SVGs. But when I go back to the results here, let me pull them back up. I want to hit back again on the highlighted drivers, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick. Those two are in need for a win. And when you look at Ty Gibbs this season, he has been someone who has done all right. He was really inconsistent to start. Well, he was consistent, but he was consistently bad to start. But Tyler Reddick, he's doing so well in the playoff format. He's plus 160 above the line right now. He's got a really comfortable cushion, and with only 7 races to go, he seems that he'll make it in. But the issue now is, well, could we have multiple race winners? And that's the reason why I brought up the Ty Gibbs, the AJ Allmendinger, and I will include Tyler Reddick in that because he hasn't won this season yet. But I'm more so intrigued on if it's going to cause any issues out west in Sonoma. Are there going to be drivers going to be rough on themselves? Are there going to be drivers that are going to cause issues? Are there going to be drivers that are going to wreck into people to get what they want? And with Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace, that was all based off of the in-season challenge. And the good news with the in-season challenge is that we're almost done with it. So if you're someone who's tired of hearing about it, we've only got 3 more races left. So we're halfway through. You'll be all right. And with the majority of the field being out of it, it may not be as big of a storyline, but it's still something we're going to hit on. And I'll go ahead and hit on that right now. So if you look at the list here, how to put money in the background, $1 million for the winner. You have Ty Dillon on a Cinderella run, which is amazing for him, for College racing. Great. And then it's Alex Bowman, who, remember, I just mentioned, wrecked Bubba Wallace to get here. Bowman he does really well on road courses, but with the Ty Dillon run that the 10 team has had, it seems as if it's, hey, just be careful. You might get bit with bad luck. That's what happened 2 weeks ago in Atlanta, how Ty Dillon moved on, and then last week as well. And then you can go to the bottom of the bracket, and I'm sorry if you're a Legacy Motor Club fan, but your 2 drivers are going to have to go head-to-head. John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones, 42 versus 43. I do not like seeing it, but sadly, that's just how the seeding is. And you know what? Regardless of the seeding of how they did it, they were going to have to face each other at some point. But it would have been pretty funny to see a team have 2 drivers go up against each other in the final race in Indianapolis. But John Hunter Nemechek, Eric Jones. John Hunter Nemechek has been doing pretty well on the road courses, but Eric Jones is very good at those as well. So we'll see how that plays out. And then the bottom right of the bracket, you got Ty Gibbs and Zane Smith. Zane Smith, another driver that's kind of like a Cinderella story, even though he's only 14th. But hey, he's still making it. And then the top, Tyler Reddick and Ryan Preece. But those are going to be the 8 drivers to watch out for. The colors that are coordinated with them, you'll see on their nameplates as the race starts, and that's going to be the thing to watch out for. We're going to hear about it. I'm not sure if anyone tuned in to the True TV coverage last week and watched any of that. I thought it was too confusing for myself, but hey, I was just wanting to watch the race. But we can go ahead and now take a look at the playoff standings. So in the playoff, It's pretty straightforward. Shaman Gisbergen now, he sits in fourth with the 2 wins. He has 10 playoff points. And this is just an order of wins, not about playoff points. Just want to put that out there. But this is what I mentioned earlier about the Chicago results. Look at 17, 18, 19, and my apologies, 14. So it seems that the bubble drivers are making sure that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with on the back end of these on the last end of these races. With 7 to go, you have Sonoma, Dover, Indianapolis, and then it all will end at Daytona. It's going to be, will these drivers find a win? Will they have to point their way in? And with bad days from Bubba Wallace, with Alex Bowman actually picking it up from once and moving forward, and we'll probably see him do the same thing again in Sonoma. It now begs the question, well, is Tyler Reddick going to still hold a spot? Is Bubba Wallace still going to hold a spot? 2 23-11 guys, and with the issues of the lawsuit going on, 2311 could lose their charter after this weekend and will have to be an entry team for Dover. And I don't know exactly how that will put an issue on the playoffs, but they're going to make a lot less money. And while that shouldn't impact them for this season, it could be a major problem down the road in years to come. But to finish out the bubble line now, you have Chris Buescher plus 35 at 15th. Bubba Wallace only 2 points, so that's 2 positions at 16th. Ryan Preece, who RFK, they're getting 2 drivers up there. It's looking like if Brad Keselowski wins, they might be able to get all 3 in there thanks to just points, but that would also knock one of them out, most likely. But you have AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Busch, and Eric Jones. And those drivers, we saw how well they did on the road course last week. Maybe they could do it again this week, and it would just make that margin so much tighter. And with how the regular season standings have been going and with how the playoff standings are going, it seems like it's just a really fun race at this moment for who's going to make it into the playoff or who's going to be the top driver to earn those 15 bonus points when the playoff starts. And for the regular season standings, that's William Byron with 632 points. And then he's got his Hendrick teammates behind him, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. Hendrick Motorsports has 4 drivers, all 4 of their drivers in the top 10. That's impressive. Minus 152 for Alex Bowman, who does not have a win and who's had streaks of inconsistency this season. That's really good for the 48 team. And then you can see that the other team that's dominating here is Joe Gibbs. You have Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and Chase Briscoe. 3 drivers for them that are also in the top 10. So that now leaves it with, well, is it really that big of a deal that it's so tight right now? And yes, it is. William Byron was leading by almost 70 points a couple of weekends ago. He has been, over the past 5 races, he is in the bottom 5 for average finish right now. And this is a driver who won the Daytona 500, has been in back-to-back championship 4s, and now he's in a situation where, yes, he's still the points leader, and yes, there's still 7 races to go, but the 24 team is going to have to now fight with the 9 team and the 5 team. And that, for me, it makes it a little interesting because we always hear about the goal is at the end of the day for your team just to make sure one of your teammates, if you can't make it in, one of your teammates make it in to victory lane. And with how minimal and how marginal these points are now, we might see some infighting in Hendrick Motorsports, which would make it pretty cool. And remember, the winner here gets 15 playoff points. That is equivalent to 3 race wins. It's not just a trophy to your left. It's 3 race wins, and that is a major boost to your playoff standings. But the rest of the list goes with Tyler Reddick at 5th, Christopher Bell 6th, Ryan Blaney 7th, Ross Chastain 8th, Briscoe 9th, Alex Bowman 10th. And with those 10 guys, it doesn't mean someone can't come from behind here either. Christopher Bell last season, he won the regular season. If it would have been based off of the Winston Cup standings, he would have won the championship that season. thanks to just a huge run at the end. So think about it this way. If Alex Bowman consistently finishes top 5 over the next 7 races, William Byron keeps going downhill, Chase Elliott's on a hot streak, but let's just say these other 9 drivers, they just start having some slip-ups here and there. Alex Bowman could go from 10th to 1st and make his way into the playoffs thanks to winning the regular season title. So drivers that aren't already locked in, like Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe and Alex Bowman, this is a big deal for them as well. But now I want to go ahead and move over to Sonoma here, as I'm waiting on Declan to join here shortly. But the drivers I highlighted were drivers that have not won this season. And these are the drivers that I figured, hey, we should keep an eye out for these guys because these are the ones that matter. Shaman Gisbergen is the favorite right now, at least according to DraftKings. Shaman Gisbergen, I believe, sits at plus 130, and he's minus 400 to finish top 3. So plus 130 in a NASCAR race, I've talked about this a couple times before. That is a really big deal and shows how talented of a driver you are when you have that much of a favorite on your back. But Chris Buescher, I want to mention him. He has an average finish of 3rd. He has 3 top 5 finishes, and he's led 36 laps here. His lowest finish is 4th, and his best finish is 2nd. He's going to be someone that if there's going to be a fight for this race against SVG, he's the driver to do it. I think that last weekend he wasn't highlighted because he hasn't done well, but we've hit on him at COTA this season, and he's someone that typically finds his way around these tracks really well. And for someone who has an average finish of 3rd in 3 races, he's going to be the guy to do it. He's going to be the guy we're going to see up front. I don't know how well he's going to do it, but he's going to be the one who is going to lead the rest of the Fords this weekend. He'll be a best bet of mine. I'll highlight that shortly. But then there's Michael McDowell right below him. Had a great weekend in Chicago until it all went awry for him. If he's able to keep that consistency up, maybe get another stage win, Michael McDowell can keep himself up in the playoff standings. AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Busch. And Kyle Busch is an interesting name to discuss here because he only has 1 top 10 here. But I think with how well he's been doing at the road courses, you remember COTA, he was leading with less than 10 laps to go, but just had old tires. It didn't seem to work out well for him. But then moving forward down the list, Alex Bowman, hit on him. He doesn't have a top 5, nor does he have a top 10. Same thing for Ryan Preece, but it's those playoff points. And if we go back to the playoff standings and you check that out, those are important, especially for drivers like Ryan Preece, who's at -2 against Bubba Wallace. And with Bubba Wallace, he was doing well in Chicago. He was running top 10, came from the back once to get up there. But now with the Sonoma race, it's different. It's not as narrow, not as tight. There shouldn't be as many collisions, and it should be cleaner. But I want to go back to the in-season challenge because I want to highlight the betting odds here for the head-to-head matchups. So you have Alex Bowman versus Ty Dillon. Alex Bowman's at -310. I think that's fine. I wouldn't put any money on that. But my favorite battle here is going to be the Legacy Motor Club matchup between Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter Nemechek is the favorite at -165, but Eric Jones is at +120. Eric Jones is someone who is, like I mentioned earlier, these two teammates are, I would say, about equal on the road course racing. If Eric Jones can have a good day, I'd like him to beat John Hunter Nemechek. But for anyone that wants to put some money on Ty Dillon, they believe in that run that Ty Dillon has against Alex Bowman. He's at +215, which is kind of funny to me because Zane Smith has lower odds than Ty Dillon does. Zane Smith against Ty Gibbs is +225, which obviously, Ty Gibbs, he's a ringer at this. He's going to be someone who's going to do well here. But with the with the magic run, the Cinderella run that Ty Dillon's on, could it be a possibility that Ty Dillon advances to the final four drivers here? Are we going to have to say this is March or something as if it's the NCAA tournament? Because for me, Ty Dillon to the final four will be a legacy story in itself. It'd be something that I think that we would have to hang a banner for as a fan base. But the last matchup I'll talk about, Ryan Preece, Tyler Reddick. Ryan Preece has shown speed. He's shown speed on the road courses. We saw him as a top 10 average finish driver since 2022 in the Gen 7 at Sonoma. He's only plus 175 against Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick's at minus 240, and this is going to be, if you just want to take the dive for Ryan Preece, plus 175 is pretty good, but it seems that the sports books, DraftKings, which if you're on YouTube or if you can see the description to the show, there's a link there. Bet $5, get up to $150 in bonus bets on your first bet. It will be an interesting take for bettors, gamblers this weekend of, you're going to try to want to make some money. Do you even touch the in-season challenge? Because that was something that this was meant to do. That's why it's presented by DraftKings. There was obviously some sports book backing to it. But the issue with what's going on with the backing is that it's kind of losing fan interest. So do we necessarily need to worry about it? And I'd say, yeah, there's $1 million on the line. And even though I would say the necessarily, if you're wanting to look at it as a fan who's the underdogs here, you've got Ty Dillon on a Cinderella run. You've got both Legacy Motor Club guys. You've got Zane Smith, and then you got Ryan Preece. I think it is a good pick for either one of those two to do well this weekend. And then, obviously, for the winner's circle here, Shane Van Gisbergen sits at plus 130. I mentioned that. But here's some good lines here that I like a lot. Ty Gibbs, he's plus 1,100 as a race winner, but he's plus 300 as a top 3 finish. And on the other side of that, he's plus 150 as a top 5 finish. I think that has really good value. I think for Ty Gibbs, for a driver that has clearly shown that he can do it. We've seen the Chicago results. We saw how he's done before on the road courses. He's someone that should be a pretty good favorite to finish near the front. And to be able to sit at plus 150 in a top 5, and then to also sit at plus 300 top 3, you really just take your pick on that one. I would go with the top 5, not be as risky, gives you a little bit of leeway, and it's still plus money. And then my other pick here for the race, for a race winner, I'm going to have to go with it, is Chris Buescher. He's obviously not finished outside the top 5, and I've had terrible luck picking Chris Buescher, but you got to keep going until you're right, because then you'll be able to say, hey, I called it, even if it's 1 out of 100 times. But I really like Chris Buescher this weekend. He sits at plus 1,400. And hey, you see that he's not finished outside the top 4. Chris Buescher, top 5 right now, is plus 190. That's really good odds there as well. Still consistency in top 10. I'm sure it's not too bad. I wasn't checking that out, but I got to pull up. Minus 175. That's still a pretty good value for the RFK 17.4. So don't be surprised if we see Chris Buescher finish outside the top 10, because I'm wrong here, but he will have a good day. I'm pretty sure of it. But then I want to go ahead and highlight just some of the drivers I feel like we need to watch here. I'm going to ride with Shane Van Gisbergen to win. I think that's a gimme. But I want to see how Kyle Busch does this weekend. I want to see if he's going to be able to keep up his consistency. I mentioned 23XI earlier. They're about to run into some issues. Will Tyler Reddick or will Bubba Wallace do well here? We can talk about Riley Herbst, but he's not really shown up, and I don't really think it would matter for this race anyways. But with the average finish that I brought up here, the names of Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez, they're up here. Daniel Suarez is only the one top 10 finish, and that was his win that he had here. but Daniel Suarez has something to prove. He's trying to get a ride right now. And with what's going on with him, it may not be the best thing for Daniel Suarez. I see that Declan's over here. I'll bring him on. So, Declan, I want to.
Hey, what's going on? I'm sorry. I thought I was going to be home in 15 minutes, but the traffic is killer today. But I got my phone set up and I'm all set for now. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I just wanted to get your overall thoughts. I've already talked about it. I've not got long left on the show, but give me your overall thoughts for Sonoma this weekend.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite road courses in the nation, behind Watkins Glen, I'd say. Obviously, it's beautiful, wine country. I still think we should have a spring race there just because how green it is and how nice it looks. It's one of my favorite racetracks that we go to on the NASCAR schedule. Obviously, it's been a staple since the 90s, I think. So, obviously, I'm excited to see what happens. I think Larson's got a really good shot again. I'm excited just for to see if SVG can continue this SVG versus the world on the road courses. I mean, he's been an absolute tear this year. I mean, on every road course we've gone to. I know Coda was a little bit of a different story for him, but Chicago was really strong. Mexico, I mean, the biggest gap margin, I think, or biggest margin of victory in the next gen on a road course.
Yes.
And that was impressive. And then obviously last week, sweeping Chicago. Unfortunately, and it's crazy. I read the stat that 4 out of the 5 races that we've run at Chicago, he's won at, I believe. Or no, 6.
Yeah.
No, 4 out of 5, because he's won 2 Xfinity races, obviously, this year and last season, and then the 2 Cup races. So that's impeccable. I feel like that's a crazy stat line for him. So, obviously, I think he's going to have a really good shot this week. There were a lot of, good storylines coming out of there, and I'm looking forward to Sonoma, for sure.
So one of the things I've highlighted in previous shows is the fact that if Shane Van Gisbergen keeps winning, it'll help him out in the playoffs. Is there a path that he can make it to the round of 8 if he's able to pull off another win this weekend, would you say?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think his goal is to stack as much playoff points as possible for the 88 team. So, I mean, he's sitting, I think, in the top 5 in seeding now because of the 2 wins and the stage wins that he's had on the road courses. So, I look at in the middle of round of 12, obviously, if he can make it through the first round, he's got a legit chance of making it through because of Charlotte Roval. And I'll even throw in Talladega potentially like later on in the next round, but I think that he's got a really legitimate shot of rolling through the playoffs based on those playoff points for sure. Obviously, he's got Sonoma, he still has Watkins Glen for the rest of the regular season. So I think logistically and I think it could happen. He's just, I feel like the goal for him is to, get a few stage wins the next 2 road course races we go to, and then obviously come out strong and finish well for the end of the regular season. Because I think if he can take a few bad races on the ovals, I know he showed speed at Echo Park. I remember that was pretty impressive, and then at some of the ovals. So I feel like he's going to be banking on a lot of those playoff points he gets from the road courses. So, yeah, I think what you said, I think he has a good shot at getting through. I think he just needs to stack, as much playoff points as he can get.
So I've gone with Chris Buescher as a bet that I like this weekend. How do you feel about the 17 team and just RFK overall with Ryan Preece being on the bubble as well?
Yeah, fun fact, I actually talked to pretty much like all 3 of them the last few weeks at Pocono and Echo Park. I actually talked about that and their statistics recently. I think Chris Buescher is a really good pick. I mean, obviously, he has the road course racing expertise. We've seen it all season long. We've seen it pretty much since the debut of the next gen. Obviously, the Watkins Glen win that he had last year was impeccable when he took down the best road course racer right now in the Cup Series of SVG last year. So, and I think he's had, I haven't looked at his specific stats at Sonoma, but I'm pretty sure he's been really good there. I think the last time we went there. So I think your best bet, obviously my bet for him would be a top 5 at least for him. I think he's got a lot of pace. That team has shown so much pace the last few weeks. And, you mentioned Ryan Preece on the bubble. I think he sits 2 out going into Sonoma behind Bubba. So I think it's impressive. I think he's going to have a good showing, hopefully. I feel like, Priest's road course capabilities have been better. I mean, obviously, he's mixed strategy into it. I know he has a stage win at Coda this year, and I feel like, yeah, I mean, that whole RFK team is rolling with a lot of momentum recently. I can tell from everybody that I've talked to at RFK and all the drivers and all that, they have a lot of momentum going into these road course races, but also just the rest of the regular season. So I think, yeah, Chris Buescher, huge pick to pick, or a pick that you don't want to miss for sure. I feel like to keep him in the loop as a top finisher. I think he can go for potentially the race win if the cards fall right in his hand.
So we saw what happened last week. You wrote about it with the in-season challenge between Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace. And now you've got it to where there's a lot of in-team going on where Legacy Motor Club's going up against each other. For the regular season championship, you have 3 Hendrick cars right there with each other, 1, 2, 3. Do you think we could start seeing teams like just single numbers going into these races, just the 24 on their own, the 9, the 5, and then on the legacy side of things, where it's going to be the 42 or the 43?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point you brought up. I think, with relating about the in-season, it's kind of crazy how the cards have fallen for everybody. I mean, Ty Dillon is still in, you got guys like some of the smaller guys, but Legacy has just been super impressive. I mean, I feel like this year has finally clicked for what they've been hoping for since they switched over to Toyota a few seasons ago. You know, John Hunter's bringing a lot of speed. I mean, it's crazy to think, like, last year where they were and compared to now. I feel like most of the weeks I've been noticing John Hunter's been leading that squadron. And, and Eric Jones, not to, displace Eric Jones. Eric Jones has been quick where we've gone at a lot of these racetracks. He finds himself inside the top 10 at a good amount of time, same with John Hunter. And the regular season title, I mean, Byron, untimely issue with his, I believe, the throttle cable, or no, that was McDowell. But, Byron's had a little rough strand of things for him, and I feel, you got to feel for him, especially with how big of a points gap he had going into the start of the summer months pretty much. And I feel like it's really anybody. I mean, Chase and Kyle are right there. Even I think Tyler Reddick is right there in the mix too, and he's, I think, fourth in the regular season title, and so he's right there knocking on the door. So I like how the Hendrick guys are teaming up together for these and like the in-season challenge, and same with the Legacy guys. I mean, it gives us fans and fans looking in a better look at their sport, and obviously I think it's going to be a really good battle for the rest of the season for those guys, and especially with like small, the guys that are developing at Legacy, and obviously we'll see if Byron can hold on to this regular season title lead.
Well, Declan, I want to thank you for taking the time on your commute back to your home to join here. I appreciate you stopping to do that. I just want you to be able to share where people can find your work, be able to follow you, anything like that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the time today. I know I came in really fashionably late. I figured there was going to be way too much more traffic, so I was like, all right, I'm just going to pull over, get my phone out, and get it to work. So if you got, or I have social media, so I'm on Instagram. Mostly I'm on X, so Declan_Wayman, my first and last name. I usually post all the news that I get over there. I work with 3 different outlets, though, this season, so I'm with the Podium Finish for Cup. I'm with TobyChristie.com for ARCA, and I am with Raceface Digital for Cup and Xfinity and all that. So you can find me on there. Usually that's where all my work is being put onto. So, and I appreciate thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Well, Declan, once again, I'll invite you on next time. If you're not so busy as well.
Yeah, hopefully. I think next week should be fine. Getting ready for Dover. I shouldn't be too hooked up on work or any of distractions. Hopefully, or this case today. I saw 2 car accidents today while I was driving, and I was like, oh boy. So, I'd love to come back on and be able to fully get my notebook in and get all of it in, because there were a lot of storylines leaving this week.
Well, Declan, I want to thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Garon.
That was Declan Wayman joining the show. I had issues getting him on. He was texting me off to the side, but I want to thank him for at least still trying to get in. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in this week as well. Will not be on next week. I'll be taking the week off. I'll still be doing coverage for Bleacher Brothers in article form, but there will be no show or video content. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in once again, and stay tuned for 2 weeks from now as we will recap Dover. Thank you guys so much for joining.